They're calling this recession the white-collar recession. In a typical recession, blue-collar workers are laid off first. But you have companies like Amazon, Ford, Pepsi Cola laying off their executives.
Having a slew of corporate layoffs. Southwest, one of the biggest airlines in America, is now going to lay off 15% of their corporate workforce in their first ever corporate layoff in its 50-year history. At the same time, Chevron, the second largest oil producer in the US, just announced that they're going to lay off 20% of their entire global workforce. And not to be outdone, Mark Zuckerberg just announced that Meta is going to be laying off 5% of its global workforce. What these news stories signal is that the US economy is on unstable footing in 2025. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of potential volatility because the one segment of the US economy that really seems to be getting hit hard by these layoffs is white-collar workers.
A lot of folks are complaining about the job market. People have been out of work for 6 months, 9 months, a year. Some people are coming up on 2 years they've been out of work. It's a white-collar recession, and it's extremely competitive out there to land a job. And it wasn't until I actually got into recruiting that I understood what candidates were doing wrong. I used to do these same things. I was making all the same mistakes. Sometimes they're very simple, like just super simple tweaks can make all the difference in the world for people, but they have no idea. They absolutely have no idea.
Okay, guys, if you breathe air, eat food, and drink water, you're aware that there's a white-collar recession going on. And that's the topic of this video, is how you can try to overcome that recession. But before we get into that, I have a quick favor to ask you all. If this is your second time or more tuning into one of my videos, feel free to give it a like and to subscribe, because it really does help with the YouTube algorithm, and I would greatly appreciate it. And with that, let's hop into the videos.
You keep hearing that the job market is booming, and yet you are struggling to land a job, and that is because we are in a white-collar recession. LinkedIn has recently shared some data that hiring across the tech industry is down 20% since August 2018. Now, obviously, there have been ups and downs. Like, there was a huge surge in hiring back in 2021, 2022, and everyone was transitioning into tech. And now that makes it even harder because there are all of these people who had a little bit of experience in the industry, and now they're struggling to find their next job. Now, this chart shows how hiring has shifted since 2018, and I want you to pay attention to healthcare services because that is the one area where hiring has actually increased significantly. But if you are in fields like HR, we are way down. This is why it's so hard for those of us that are in fields like recruiting to find other jobs. So if you are the job market right now, you are going to want to focus on the top of this chart, the areas that have been relatively stable. These are areas that are still hiring consistently.
Okay, guys, so I want to pause on this graph really quickly because it's very important. So actually saying there are certain sectors, and this is one of the keys to how to maybe get around this white-collar recession, okay? And that is to focus on different industries that maybe you didn't focus on before. So healthcare services is pretty much the only one that's in the black. Is a great industry to focus on. And by the way, you don't have to be a healthcare worker like a clinician or professional that offers healthcare, like hands-on, a clinician, like I said, like a doctor or a nurse or a physical therapist. You don't have to do that. Inside these industries, you have white-collar jobs. You have office jobs, administrative works, things such as that. So focus on healthcare services, maybe community and social services is slightly in the red, business development, even military and protective services. Basically anything you see here that's under 10%, it might be good to focus on those areas instead of focusing on where you might have already been focusing on that's not working, such as quality assurance, as you see, engineering, marketing, product management, HR, legal, etc. She also said something else is very important here. She said a lot of people during the 2020 area, during, COVID area, they had very little experience in tech, but it was so much hiring that you can get into tech with very minimal experience. And now those people are having a difficult time getting jobs in tech because they're competing with the folks that have a lot of experience and a lot of education in tech, and they're competing for many or much fewer positions.
And the two pieces of advice I shared for job seekers. First of all, you need to pay attention to which industries are actually hiring. And that includes recognizing that even blue-collar industries like construction, manufacturing, and transportation, which are some of the areas that have seen the biggest increases in hiring, still hire for different professional roles. So if you start looking in those industries, you are more likely to see traction. Because remember, the overall job market has actually stayed fairly stable, and more of that hiring is just happening in some of those traditionally like what's called blue-collar industries. If you focus on on-site and hybrid, you are going to have way better luck than if you're looking for remote. The other is that if you are trying to get jobs in tech or any of these fields where hiring is down, you are going to have to be essentially 100% qualified. And look, I know that's frustrating. I know you probably feel like you have the skills to do a lot of other jobs, but the reality is that when these companies have tons and tons of applicants who are perfectly qualified for the job, they're not going to take someone who is a stretch. And if you
All right, she's dropping some some gems here, guys. She's dropping some really good game here that we have to really take into account. So she said, number one, focus on on-site jobs and hybrid jobs. The days of applying to a whole bunch of remote jobs are effectively gone for right now, because right now the job market is in the employer's hands, meaning that there are a lot more people looking for jobs than jobs that are available, and the economy is kind of tight. So if you want to get a job in a white-collar position, you're going to have to get off your butt and leave your house, unfortunately or fortunately, go into the office. Either that's 5 days a week or, 3 days a week, 2 days a week, whatever. If you are newer to like a tech industry and you are just like an entry-level tech performer or tech person, you haven't been in the game a long time in tech, it's going to be really hard to compete because there's fewer jobs, and the jobs that are going to be filled are jobs that are filled by people that have a lot of experience in tech. And I know people personally, more than one, many actually, I could say 5 even, I can think off the top of my head, who are newbies to tech, you could say, and they are having the hardest time finding jobs in tech because there are fewer jobs and they're competing with these big boys that have been in it for a while and really know what they're doing. That's cyber, that's programming, what have you. So it is what it is.
You don't believe me? Here's a comment from someone that said, yep, I've been focusing on on-site hybrid within healthcare, transportation, and construction, and now I'm having a lot more luck. And look, I know that this isn't the news people want. What people want is to hear that all these remote tech companies are hiring like crazy again. That's not where we are right now. But hopefully this grounds you in reality, because once you know reality, then you can design a strategy that aligns to it.
All right, there you go. There's the game. So the idea is you can combine all those strategies. You combine the strategy looking for on-site work, combine the strategy of looking for work in industries that maybe you weren't looking in before, like healthcare services. And if you are new to tech, maybe try to find something that is tech adjacent, maybe project management that you can go into that maybe has a better opportunity for you to get work as an entry-level employee. Let's keep on rocking.
There is a white-collar recession right now. For every one job opening, there's at least 2 job seekers, which means it's extremely tough to get a job. I have a lot of friends who are struggling right now. They're holding on to the job they already have, or they've been job searching for many, many, many months without any luck. I mean, some almost a year. And that's just the nature of today's economy. And so you have to be really thoughtful in terms of saving money, in terms of, being more open to jobs that are not fully aligned to what you do potentially. So navigating this job market is tough, but if you're open, if you treat your job search like a full-time job, you have a leg up on other people.
All right, guys. So there you go again. Save money. So when times get hard like this and you're laid off, I have friends that have been laid off for more than a year, more than 1 year. And one of the biggest reasons they were able to survive this, now they have a job that they're just doing in the meantime, but they had a good amount of savings. If they had not had that big amount of savings, they would have been in trouble. They'd have been in some big trouble. Because even unemployment, they're not receiving that anymore. So savings, things that he said, again, look for stuff that is maybe career adjacent. It's not directly what you're looking for, but something, go on Google, right? Or go on Chat GPT and type in, I am a marketing professional. I've been doing marketing in this area for 5 years, and I'm looking for roles that are similar to marketing, but that are not exactly marketing, and get very specific with your prompt and find jobs in fields that are not directly related to where you normally work at to see if you have a better opportunity there. And the last thing is treat it like a job. Like you said, if you're unemployed, treat getting employed like a job. Apply like your life depends on it, because kind of does depend on it. So treat it like a job. Don't be lazy with it. Don't just be woe is me and lay back and watch Netflix all day. If you want to do that for the first couple days or a week when you get laid off, let's say, because you're just down and in pits, I get it. We're all human. After that, get up, dust yourself off, get back to it.
If you're in school right now and you don't have a job lined up, you should be freaking out about the white-collar recession. It's harder than ever to get an office job right now. So here are 3 types of people you should talk to in order to land a job. These should be 3 new people, not people you know. First one is going to be a peer that's also interested in the field. You can ask them what's working and what's not working in their job search. This is your therapy session. You can vent about how you're getting auto-rejected from every single company you apply to. Second one is going to be someone who's already been slaving away at the job for 1 to 3 years. If you're not sure you want to go into the career, ask them what they like about the job, whether they would stay in it, and what they don't like about the job. If you're already sure that you want to go into that career field, ask them at the end of the conversation, what steps can I take to get into your career field? They should know that you're secretly asking for a referral. If they don't, then it's probably one of 2 things. 1, they don't want to, or 2, they didn't pick up on the question and they're a dumbass. Having been on the other side of these calls now, those are the only 2 options. The third person should be someone around your parents' age. They should have been in the career field for a while. If you don't know that you want to go into the career field yet, ask them what it took to get where they are. Ask them why they switched companies. Ask them if there was ever a moment in their career where they doubted choosing that career field. Get their honest opinions. After you've done that, after the conversation is over, same thing. Ask them what steps you should take in order to get into that career field, or if there's anyone they can connect you with. Your goal is to meet someone new and learn something new every conversation. I promise you, if you do this, you'll start to speak the language of people in your industry and put yourself in a position to get lucky and get an opportunity. If you don't do this after college, you're fried.
You know what I really like at the end of that? He dropped some gems there. He said you'll start to speak the language of the person in that industry. That's some good game, because whenever you meet somebody new and you're looking to get into the industry they're in, and you start speaking the same language, using the same jargon, the same idioms, the same type of abbreviations and acronyms, they're going to be like, okay, this person's serious. They're really interested. They're not just shooting smoke up my ass. They're really interested in this field. They're really interested in this type of work. I can tell they've done the research, or they've been around enough people to know this is what they want to do. So that will make them more inclined to help you out. That's really good game. Aside from that, what he's saying is just a tried and true method. Network, network, network. It's about who you know. It's more about who you know than what you know. That's been the truth for forever. I mean, I remember back when I was in high school, I was looking to go into pharmacy at one point and to become a medical doctor at one point. And I went and I did exactly what he's talking about. I talked to a bunch of different pharmacists. Well, not really a bunch. I'm not lying. I'll lie. That's a lie. I talked to maybe a couple pharmacists. I talked to a good amount of doctors though. And I would ask each group, like, okay, what do you like about your job? Would you recommend someone go into your field? And I'll be honest, and this is no shade to any pharmacy people. It's all maybe the people I spoke with, but they all told me that they wouldn't go back into it again. They didn't really like it. A lot of doctors said they like what they do, but it's not the same as it used to be. It's more difficult because the way insurance is handled and this and that. And so it really drove me to go a different route. So what he's saying is right. Go talk to people. It's not just to get a job. Now, again, this is if you had the time and the availability to do this, because if you're like younger, you're in high school still, is different than if you're out of college looking for a job. Now you know what you're trying to get into, and you're trying to employ these strategies to get into a job. And if the person doesn't want to help you, like you said, either they just don't want to help you, or for lack of better words, or for the same thing he said, they're a dumbass. But hey, whatever. With that being said, guys, made it this far, I really appreciate it. These are some strategies that hopefully you can implement into your own situation to try to help you get a job in this white collar recession, because things are tough. We know that. And if you made it this far, I appreciate it. Feel free to like, if you feel so too inclined. And until next time, as always, make smart financial decisions.